in this study, we analyzed 250 TikTok videos to explore how people, particularly youth, are communicating about oral nicotine pouches. And we wanted to conduct this study because we know that oral nicotine pouch use among youth has spiked. But we really don't know why. And TikTok is a place where you can find out what types of trends are happening across youth cultures. And so we wanted to know if oral nicotine pouches were a product that was spreading across youth cultures.
Okay, and what did you find?
Yeah, so what we found was that nicotine pouches are being portrayed in resoundingly positive ways among young people. Many of the videos portrayed people describing how these pouches naturally fit into their lifestyle. So they were emphasizing how shareable they were, how discreet they were. Some were even using them during intense military training. So really emphasizing that they could be used at anywhere at any point in time. And when you think about smoking and even with vaping, at some point you have to stop what you're doing in order to take in that product and inhale the product. But with nicotine pouches, it's very different. You just put the pouch in between your gum and your cheek, and you can use it no matter what you're doing, whether you're exercising or socializing. And that's what these videos are really promoting. And the creators also talked about how being a nicotine pouch user meant that you were part of a shared group. And that's particularly appealing to young people because teenagers are still in the process of figuring out who they are, and exploring new things like nicotine pouches can be a part of that process. And then on top of it all, video creators really minimized the negative health effects of nicotine pouches. So we really were seeing these pouches being presented as trendy and cool among young people. And when you think about the reach power of social media and how it can make trends like this catch on within youth cultures extremely fast, like within seconds. And we've seen this before. We've seen this with vaping, when you think about like hashtag Jewel Gang, when you think about even other trends that are not nicotine related. There's the cinnamon challenge, the ice bucket challenge. Some of these that were very dangerous, but they became trendy and infiltrated youth cultures across the globe.
Right. And how were young people involved in your research?
Oh, in a variety of ways. Some of them were showing how to use them, and some of them were using the tins as art. They use them during activities to showcase how they could be used anywhere at any point in time. What was really quite interesting as well was that young males, they were the primary individuals shown to be using these products, but young females, often the partners of the young males, were supportive partners in the process. So they wouldn't really complain about it, but they would actually sort of exalt these rewards that they were getting because of their partner's use through the tins. You can collect points, and the points can be used towards products. This one young woman was talking about how she saved up enough points to fund her bachelorette party. And so we were seeing an interesting gender dynamic in these videos as well.
Wow. And what concerns you most about what you found?
For any user, it's concerning because there are major impacts on their oral health and on their heart health. But for a young person, for a teenager, you have to add in the major impacts that nicotine has on the brain. And this is because the brain is still developing up until the age of 25, some say even 30. And exposure to nicotine while the brain is developing interferes with the establishment of natural brain pathways that are critical for decision making, for stress tolerance, for impulse control, for memory and learning, for preventing anxiety and depression. So these are huge things. So you can see why this is concerning, especially when it comes to youth, because their future is quite literally in the hands of the tobacco industry, and it's something that should be a top priority here in Canada to address.
Well, what is the current policy here around nicotine pouches here in BC?
Yeah, so currently the only legal nicotine pouch available or like legally allowed to be used in Canada is called Zonic, and that comes in 2 or 4 milligram pouches. And these products can be purchased behind pharmacy counters. This wasn't always the case when these products were first rolled out, because they fell under the label of being a natural health product. Anybody at any age could access these products. And that's what we were seeing. So young youth were going to convenience stores and gas stations and picking up these products. And that's why Health Canada acted quite quickly to put them behind pharmacy counters. But what complicates this is that young people are actually not using these Health Canada approved Zonix. They're actually using illicit brands like Zans, like Velos, and purchasing them online. Some are even purchasing them from convenience stores and from vape shops. So the regulations are there, but the enforcement clearly is lacking.
Well, what would you like to see from the decision makers?
Yeah, well, certainly improved enforcement is a top priority. Knowing that what we're seeing on the streets, what people are using, are not what's been legalized in Canada. I'd also like to see more rules and restrictions around the flavor profiles of these products. We know that flavors are very attractive to youth, and we've seen this with vaping. We're seeing the same thing with nicotine pouches. And while Canada does have limitations on the flavors, the tobacco industry is circumventing this by bringing in chemicals that give the feeling of hot or cold. So it kind of almost gives it, even though it's mint flavor, these chemicals that make it hot or cold actually make it feel and taste different and more appealing. So that's still an ongoing issue. And then I would also say that we need to, in addition to regulations, we need to think about interventions and how we message young people. And one of the critical things about messaging young people is that we need young people to be driving the messaging. They need to be at the table. They're generally missing when it comes to developing programming, messaging, as well as regulatory, making regulatory decisions. And this is problematic because youth know their context. Adults just simply don't. We don't understand it. And I just wanted to point out that this study is the lead author of this study is a youth co-researcher. She's fresh out of high school. This study could not have been possible without her leadership, because she understands the context of young people. She understands why youth are using nicotine pouches. She's seen it. She understands how to use TikTok. There was lingo in these videos that I don't understand because I'm not living this context. Like I didn't know what pop off meant. And so she had to explain a lot of the lingo. And so driving this study alone was critical to have a young person driving it. And so in the same way, when it comes to intervening and developing policies, we need young people at the table.
Listen, Laura, I think we need a follow-up conversation on this as well to explain the lingo a little bit more. I'm sure there's a lot of questions that people have about this particular product. So thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your research.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, Gloria.
That is Laura Struick, an associate professor at the School of Nursing at UBC Okanagan.